This video is sponsored by Intel. Hi Brollies, Marvin here from TechBroll.com, where we do unboxings, reviews, and sexy b-rolls. And today, as part of my preparation for our upcoming Intel PC build, we're going to do an unboxing and introduction of all the components that we're going to use, including the star of the show, the 10th Gen Intel Core i5-10400 processor. And finally, we're going to build around the components Deepcool has sent us, including the Deepcool CL500 chassis. Huge thanks as well to Asrock for providing the motherboard. You can also check their Asrock H470 Steel Legend. The Asrock H470 Steel Legend motherboard is the most affordable board that supports future Intel CPU socket 1200 and Gen 4 PCIe X16 and M.2 slots. It features base frequency boost, which is quite similar to overclocking even without an unlocked CPU. It has 11 power phases featuring DRMOS power design with massive heatsinks, and it also boasts features such as the HEMIC audio, Dragon 2.5G LAN, USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-C port, and of course, Asrock's Polychrome sync with addressable RGB support. Not to mention the tried and tested Steel Legend build construction. Basically, all the essentials in a very affordable price point. Check out the link below to learn more. Now, let's get into it. Now, with the global pandemic still happening around the world, people are forced to stay at home and rely on their PCs and smartphones to aid them with the new normal. Most of us are in constant motion to look for opportunities to improve our workflow, and building or upgrading a PC is one way to do that. Hopefully, this upcoming build can help you get an idea of some possible upgrade paths. Alright guys, without further ado, let's start with the brain of our build, the 10th Gen Intel Core i5-10400 processor, which of course now utilizes the latest LGA 1200 socket. Around the box, here on top, we have a window preview of the processor itself. And here on this side, we have some technical details such as its base frequency, cache, and again the LGA 1200 socket. On the other side, we don't have anything here, and here we just have some certifications, and finally at the back, we have more information, but nothing quite significant, so let's just see what comes in the package, just to give you a complete unboxing experience. Upon opening the box, we have yet another brown box, which houses the included CPU cooler, which we'll take a look at in a moment, and of course, the Intel Core i5-10400 processor itself. Let me just put it aside as we take a look at the CPU cooler. Now, the included CPU cooler, to be honest, is nothing fancy, which most of us are quite used to by now, but still useful especially for those who are building around a certain budget. And finally, we have the Intel Core i5-10400 processor itself, which features 6 cores and 12 threads, which are substantial enough for most productivity, multitasking, and of course gaming. It has a base frequency of 2.9 GHz and a max turbo frequency of 4.3 GHz. It has 12 MB of cache and a TDP of just 65 watts. And for those who are planning on building a PC without a budget for a discrete graphics card, the Intel Core i5-10400 comes with an Intel UHD Graphics 630. Other technologies that we can take advantage of with this processor are Intel Optane memory, Intel virtualization, and of course, Intel hyperthreading, which has been made available for all 10th Gen CPUs. All in all, this processor should be a good option for any budget builds without compromising much in terms of performance. It has a good balance between price to performance ratio, I would say, but of course, we're gonna find out how it actually performs once we finally build our system. Now, for the motherboard, since we have a locked CPU, we don't need to go overboard with something like a Z490 motherboard, so we're going to use the Asrock B460 Steel Legend, which by the way, I've already made a dedicated unboxing here. But essentially, this is a pretty decent partner for the Intel Core i5-10400 with substantial features such as decent 9-phase power delivery, supports DDR4 2933 MHz memory, has 2 PCIe 3.0 X16 slots, 7.1 channel HD audio via the Realtek ALC1200 audio codec, and has enough storage interfaces with 6 SATA 3 ports and 2 M.2 slots. It also has 7 USB 3.2 Gen 1 ports and of course, supports both addressable and unaddressable RGB components. Now, if you want, you can also choose to use the Asrock H470 Steel Legend motherboard for USB 3.2 Gen 2 support, or if you're really on a tight budget, the Asrock H410M. For the graphics card, we're going to use the iChill NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3060 Ti, which is the latest offering from the Ampere series. And really, I just want to know how this will perform in a relatively budget system, which most users surely will do. This is also a good partner for the Intel Core i5-10400 processor, as it should offer decent performance without necessarily have to break the bank for something like an RTX 3070 or 3080. It still offers the latest technologies such as ray tracing and DLSS, and everything NVIDIA has to offer when it comes to the Ampere series cards. For the memory, we're going to use the XPG Spectrix D60G 3600MHz CL18 16GB kit, but of course, it's only going to run at the 2933MHz supported speed. It's part of the Asrock B460C Legends QVL, so we shouldn't have any compatibility issues with it. As for storage, to be honest, I'm not sure what I'm going to use yet, since I don't have any spare SSDs lying around, so I might have to purchase one first, but it should be no less than a 240GB SSD for our boot drive. Now, the rest of the remaining components are courtesy of Deepcool, which I've always been looking forward to using in a build, so finally, it's happening. To properly cool our Intel Core i5-10400 processor, we're going to use the Deepcool AS500, which is one of their latest CPU cooler. It has 5 decently sized heat pipes, a 140mm fan with up to 1200 RPM, and with an airflow of around 70.81 CFM. It can support up to 220 watts TDP, which is more than sufficient for our processor, and of course, why not addressable RGB. To cool the rest of our components, we're going to use 6 Deepcool MF120 GT case fans, which is also one of the latest case fans from Deepcool. It also has one of the most unique designs when it comes to case fans, with an X shape partnered with aesthetically pleasing RGB illumination. These fans can run up to 1800 RPM with an airflow of around 60.6 CFM. The RGB illumination as per modern standard is addressable. Powering up all these components, we're going to use the Deepcool DQ850 MV2L power supply. For sure, it's more than enough for our components, and you can probably get by with something like a 600 or 700 watts, but personally, I don't want to cheap out on power supply, and quite honestly, this is all I have right now, so there's that. This is fully modular, which is awesome for cable management, not to mention black flat cables, but most importantly, it has premium build quality and equally premium components inside. Now, we're going to put all this awesome hardware inside the Deepcool CL500 chassis, which is one of the sleekest and premium looking chassis I've ever had, with decent airflow thanks to its liberated top and front mesh panels. Speaking of panels, the side panels are also quite convenient, with a too-less magnetic design, and the overall build quality is pretty good. It also has a good amount of front panel ports, including a USB Type-C port, and a built-in fan hub inside, which should make our life easier later in the build. Again, you can go for something a bit cheaper if you're going for a particular budget, but in this case, I'm happy to build a cohesive Deepcool theme build. And there you have it guys. All in all, I feel like this is going to be an awesome mainstream build that should provide decent productivity, multitasking, media consumption, and gaming performance without going balls to the walls in terms of hardware specifications and budget. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this build, and make sure to subscribe so you won't miss the actual build video and performance benchmarks. By the way guys, I would just like to share with you that Intel is currently having a promotion wherein you can get exciting prices for every purchase of any participating product from November 27 to December 27. Check out the link below to learn more. Huge thanks to Intel, Asrock, and Deepcool for providing all the components for this build. Thank you for watching, subscribe if you like this, and see you next time. Have a great day guys, you're awesome.